Welcome.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. I am super excited. This day has been a long time coming and in dreaming and envisioning and just putting it all together. So welcome everyone to the Apartment Accelerator. So for the next 12 weeks, we'll be meeting every Thursday. I'm going to kick off this call, just kind of show you guys around like the course and what's set up for you and tell you what to expect. And then I'm going to hand it over to Kimberly and she's going to take it. So every week, Kimberly will be the one that will primarily be running the calls. I'll be here with you guys also in case you need me. And then Jen has the intention of being on all these calls, but she has a commitment on Thursdays at the exact same time for a period of time. So as soon as she's done with that, she'll always hop on, and she's going to be coming on from the mindset standpoint, like accountability. What are you trying to accomplish this week? And just checking in on you guys. So you're going to have three coaches available to you. So the way that we're going to work, every one of you who's in this right now, the Apartment Accelerator was something that we offered as an a la carte, but as it stands right now, everybody who we have in this group is actually part of our platinum coaching, our one-on-one coaching. So all of you are coaching one-on-one already with either me or with Kimberly. All right, so all of you guys have access to this call for the next 12 weeks. Also the Tuesday call if you want it. So I know like Vamsi was like, I'm not, I think I'm just kind of past it at this point, and I don't disagree with that, so that's fine. And Steve, I know you've been getting on it, but you're like, okay, I'm kind of starting to grow out of it. But so that is a resource to you though, if you want to jump on, if you have questions in between what's going on, or you just want to, continue to use it for the networking, that's totally fine. So we're going to have 2 weeks or 2 calls every week for the next 12 weeks. And then beyond that, we'll just see. That's just our plan right now. Every one of you have one-on-one access to either Kimberly or I. So you'll have a monthly call that we do, once a month to check in and see how things are going. And then if you're in a deal and you need specific help with the deal, we're there to help you through that and navigate through it. So anyway, we're excited for you. So I just want to give you guys a little bit of background. Probably some of you already know this, but in case anyone doesn't or is watching the recording later, Kimberly and I met back in, it was 2007 or 2008. It was a long time ago. And we were networking at the Chamber of Commerce, and she was like this just beacon of light that everywhere she would walk around, like light and butterflies would follow her. She just exuded this incredible positivity and beautiful energy. And I was like, this person's amazing. Like, anyway, so I got to know her and we became really good friends and just started talking about real estate way back then. And she was like, so tell me more about this real estate thing you do. And so I shared with her a little bit, and then she went on her own journey and got educated and started working in the area of multifamily investing, specifically apartment investing. So although I've done like kind of everything in real estate, from flipping to pre-construction to apartments to everything over the years, Kimberly has been laser focused on apartments, and even specifically apartment turnarounds or value plays. And I know a lot of you are interested in that. And so when Jennifer and I were building out this organization, this training organization, Jennifer's been on my butt for 5 years to relaunch my apartment course that I created back in 2011. Like, she's been on my sticks about it. And it's a big undertaking because I kind of have to redo all of it because it's all in the wrong format, right? It's all audio. And so she's been on my butt about it for a really, really long time. And when we started doing this, and I had a certain amount of like one-on-one students that I was working with, and I just had a bandwidth issue. And I was like, I know you want me to launch this apartment thing, but I don't have any more time in my schedule to do any more one-on-one. So I'm stuck right now. And so we were like, how are we going to find someone that we trust that has the exact same values as us, like the same level of knowledge, and I know has the same goal for our students as I have, which is get going and do deals. Don't just learn, do, but we learn in order to do. And Kimberly and I have been looking for an opportunity to work together for years. I think we first started back in like 2008. Redhead real estate, my hair used to be red. Like, we were trying to do a deal together, and then the market crashed, that didn't work out. So we have a very long history, both just in friendship, but also in business. Like, we'll run deals by each other, bounce things off each other. She ended up going and when the company I used to train for was looking for a commercial instructor, I connected them with her, and I was like, she's amazing. Like, you're going to love her. And so she ended up training with them for a long time. And anyway, so when we started looking for someone, I was like, oh, I bet Kimberly's not going to be available. I think she's still training with them. But if I could have anything on earth, it would be her. Because I know her knowledge level is insane. Her ethics and her morals are totally in line with ours. And so, we started talking back in January, and it couldn't happen yet. She had other commitments, and they wouldn't release her to come in and work with us. And so it took a few months, and finally the doors opened up a couple of months ago. And so we're just excited that today's finally the day that it all launches. We are together, which is what we have been meant to be, Jennifer and Kimberly and I, so that we can really come in, just help you guys absolutely take off and reach the goals that you set to reach. We are probably as excited for your futures and your success as you are, if not more so, which is kind of weird, but we're so passionate about you guys. We love you. So anyway, we're super excited. So I'm going to hand it off to Kimberly in just a minute, but what I wanted to show you guys and just set up for you is, so I have been in the background the past, several weeks, lots of late nights, working on building out the coursework, but in video format instead of the 8 tracks that Jennifer keeps telling everybody I have all my coursework on. It's not 8 tracks, jeez. But anyway, so I've been working on doing it and then just doing updates because there's new websites and new resources and different things. And of course, over time, I've created better calculators and just different resources. So I've been working on putting it together in a way that is consumable for you guys. So that's still in process. But what I wanted to do is just show you what you will have available, like starting today. While we're on the call, I'll go into Kajabi. You guys all have access to Kajabi, and I will add the apartment course to your existing Kajabi. So it's the same login. You go to the same place, you'll just have another course there. And it'll say apartment acquisition, mastermind, or accelerator. I can't remember what I called it. Something like that by the time you get off the call. So I just want to show you real quick what is there. And just know it's like we have 12 weeks. And originally I was like, that's fine, I'll build it out over the 12 weeks. But I really don't want to do that. And I know there's some of you in this group who move very lightning fast on things. And so it's my goal to try to get it done in half of that time. It's probably about 40 to 50% done already. So it's my goal over the next 4 to 6 weeks to get everything else done. That being said, so Vamsi, you're in a deal right now. Steve, I predict that you'll be in a deal at any given second of the day. So I know that based on where everyone's at, you might end up getting to a point where you need something that's not in the course yet because I haven't opened it up for that part of the course yet, or it's not completely done. If that's the case, you all have one-on-one access to either Kimberly or myself. If there's something you need in your business and it's not in the course yet, we will get it to you. Okay, so just know you don't need to slow down. It's just that it's easier for us to teach you on video so you can go back and rewatch things, but when you need something that's not on the course yet, we're just going to provide it to you, coach you through it, and then, at some point it will be in the coursework as well. Okay, fair enough? Does that make sense for everyone? Okay, so I'll be working hard on getting that out. And same thing for those of you who are in our original beta mastermind, like Steve, and actually Battelle, you were in there, and I know you had given me a couple feedback. If you ever click on something and the link, I don't think this will happen now. I feel like I've passed the learning curve, but if you ever click on something and the link doesn't work, or it says you have to have permission or something like that, just give me a heads up, because some of those little bugs, sometimes I don't discover them until someone's actually trying to go through the course and go, oh, hey. So just anything like that, don't just go, oh, well, the thing doesn't work. Just give me a heads up, because it's usually like a 30-second fix, and I'll fix it so that it just flows super smoothly for you guys. All right, so real quick, let me share my screen, and I'm going to show you Kajabi. All right. Now let me go back to, no momento. Okay. All right, so when you guys log into Kajabi, this is what it'll look like. It'll say library. I imagine at some point it'll be something prettier than this, but we got to talk to our web person about how do we make it look not so boring. All right, but anyway, neither here nor there. Information is still good, great. in there. This is what you guys all have access to right now. This is your foundation course. Regardless of whether you're coming in to do 2 to 4 unit or you're doing apartments, this is still your foundation course. There's a lot of things that are going to be in the apartment course that I will either assume or reference that you already have because it's here in this 140 videos. So sometimes for the sake of showing you a good flow, I brought a couple of sections over just so you don't have to hop back and forth so that it flows well. But just know this is your foundation course no matter what. All right. And then the apartment one is going to build upon that. It's the next level. But I didn't bring everything over because otherwise it'd just take you forever. And the information's already there. All right. So this is what it is, the Apartment Acquisition Accelerator Program. So this is the course that's going to be added by the time you're off the call today. All right, so these are the sections that are going to be there. Welcome. And even though some of the titles are the same as the other one, I still want you to watch all the videos because the videos are different. The information is different, even if the titles are the same. All right, so we're talking about your welcome. So how to get the most out of the course, where to network within the community, and then understanding your why, right? That's going to be, I mean, I don't think I could overstate the importance of this one. You guys are all in real estate investing already, and if you've actually been actively investing, which I want to say nearly everybody in here already is actively investing or has at least done a deal or a couple of deals, so you probably already know, like, shit happens. Like, that is so random, you can't anticipate, so you have to be ready and willing to step up and calmly enough recognize why you're doing all this, because it's a major pain when you're doing it, or you get frustrated, or you want to quit, or just say forget it. You have to remember what the whole purpose was of you doing it, so that you can have the wherewithal to work through it. All right, so this is a really important one for you guys to go through. This first section right here, identifying your investing strategy, this is the important foundation, because everything else that you consume in this course is based on the decisions you made during this section. Are you looking for a property that's just going to cash flow, you're walking right into it, or are you looking for like a value add project? So this is one that by the time you're done with this section, I want you to, if you don't already know, I want you to stop before you go any further and really sit down and think about it and make a decision about which way am I trying to go? Because the information in the rest of the course will be the same, but you will consume it differently depending on what your strategy is. All right, so that one's going to be a really good one for foundation. Identifying your financing strategy, assessing resources. This is one section I brought over from the other one just because you're going to want to know what are your resources. So if you already watched it, but it's been a little while, then watch it again, because you're going to want to look at things with a fresh set of eyes. But this section is one of the ones that I did bring over from the other one. Assessing your resources, which is both for yourself and also for potential partners or private money lenders that you might bring into your business. All right, and then we have the remote investing, setting up your email for business and business organization, staying organized, your Dropbox and Google Drive. Some of these are repeats. All right, market research and choosing a market. This section is entirely different than the other that I taught you. And it doesn't mean that's not valid. It's just, it's a different approach when you're going into apartments. Because all day long I might say, oh yeah, population works, job growth works. Okay, check, check, check. These all look good. City website, comprehensive plan. Yeah, I love it. And then you go into the market and you realize there's only 3 multifamily buildings in the whole market. Well, then what's the point? So we approach market research from a different standpoint when we're doing apartments. The first to make sure there's actually inventory. And then we go check on the other things. Okay, so even if you've done the market research and the other ones, this one you're going to do because it's all new, all different. All right, so market research, and as you can see, there's a lot to it. Okay, and then we have building your team. The building your team section is a lot more concise than it is in the other one, because really the main team members you have when you're doing apartments initially is really your real estate brokers and your property managers, and possibly contractors. It just depends on your strategy and what you're doing if you're taking on rehabs, but it's really your real estate brokers and your property managers. All right, so, but when you get to the point where you're doing home inspectors or insurance, you can always reference the other course if you want a reminder on that, but they play such a small part compared to these that I didn't want to bulk up this section with those. So those will be in the other one. We'll leave them there. And then finally, what's in here is creating deal flow. So one of the things you're going to need to start doing right away is getting deals coming in. Now, when it comes to creating deal flow, this is, there's so many different ways that you can get deals coming in. And when you're stepping into a world of apartments, it's not like you're like, let me go get one apartment and then I'm done for the rest of my life. Usually once you buy one, you do it, you learn, you're like, okay, this is cool. Actually, I'm ready for another one. I can maybe do one that's bigger. And you'll probably just keep going, making them bigger and bigger and bigger, or doing more projects that are more complicated because they're interesting to you, or you can make more money, or you have other partners, etc. So because this is the beginning of what will likely be a long journey of your real estate investing, I want you to think of this from a standpoint of, I want you to have a lot of different ways that properties could enter your life. But some of the ways they'll only, like you might only get a lead a few times a year. But if you're doing it for the next 10, 20 years, I don't care if I only get a few deals a year from it, the wider my funnel is at the top, the more likely I am to find the right deal over time. So each of these videos is just different ways that you can do it. That being said, there really is one primary way that you'll get the most deal flow. And I saved that for last. And I talk about that throughout that. And that's going to be using and leveraging brokers. I just don't want you to have one way to find 10 deals. I'd rather you have 10 ways to find the right deal. And you can just open them up slowly over time. You might focus on the brokers first because that's kind of the quickest way to get things rolling. But over time, if you can once a month add one new way, these are, it's like putting a fishing line in the water, and you're just dropping them in and you don't know when one's going to bite. All right. So, but I give you a lot of different ways to basically open up that network to find properties. And I think that is, that's it. Okay. So there's the last two. All right. And I think that this is probably going to be the one that's the main one for you, creating deal flow and using broker scripts. But before you do that, go through the rest of the videos and just lay that foundation so that you could decide what, in addition to calling brokers, what's the one other thing you're going to focus on first, right? And just remember, you don't have to do everything at once. Just handle one thing at a time, right? This is not a rush. We're not going to rush you into deals. When we're talking 2 to 4 family or single families, I'll be like, let's go. Like it's a quicker burn. With apartments, I'd rather you actually take the time to get educated and know what you're doing, because it's it's still a game, but it's a game with bigger dollars and they're real dollars. And we want to make sure that you do it safely and do it right. All right. So anyway, this is what your Kajabi site will be when you get into it later on tonight. And yeah. And if anyone has any trouble with it, just shoot me a message and let me know, and we'll get it set up. All right. So I'm going to hand it over to my good friend, my soul sister, Kimberly, my sister from another mister, and just let you take over and do what you do, girlfriend. And I'll be here adding you guys to Kajabi in the background. At some point, Jennifer will pop on and probably start making you guys set some goals. So it's going to be good stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Stacy. And I know, are you all excited to see all those videos? I know that some of you have been chomping at the bit for it. So it's there. Yes. And everybody has access to a video watching it faster, right? A video speed controller. I know I dropped that into one of the chats. It will help. Yes.
One thing I just wanted to throw out real quick. If you're watching it in Kajabi, hold on a second. Let me show you something, because you can actually just do it in there. I always watch, I don't watch my own videos for the purpose of watching it. It's a little bit torture, but sometimes I need to see, what did I say? So I know what to say next. Down here in the little crank, you have the ability, see mine set on speed 2 times. So you have the ability to speed it up or slow it down.
Perfect.
Okay, so right in Kajabi, so you guys have that also.
2 times is fast. I don't know how you can comprehend that, Stacy.
It's because I said it. So it's already my brain, because I only do that when I'm watching my own videos to say, okay, what did I talk about? What was the flow? So I can make sure everything else flows, but I can't listen to other people at 2 times.
Okay, all
right. They talk as fast as I do.
Yeah, yeah. So you'll probably want to do that just to get through a lot of the information. And I know that because everybody here is in the one-on-one at this stage that's on the call, You've heard some of this stuff, so, but it's important. It's really, really important. I can't stress enough for you to really start at the beginning and go through each one of the videos, because the thing about multifamily is that it is significantly different than cash flow, the 2 to 4 units that you've been involved in. And there's things that you've heard, but I want to get it fresh in your brains again. And I want you to be making that internal switch. And sometimes you just need a little reminder of what that is. So the videos are really going to walk you through in a methodical way to kind of get all of that back up to speed. And then also the way that Stacy and Jennifer and I approach apartments, because everybody approaches them just a little bit differently. We're very conservative in our underwriting. We're very conservative at our market analysis. And we do that for the protection of ourselves, our investors who invest with us, and then also for you who are going to be getting into real estate and buying an apartment building and potentially bringing investors into the deal. So, and I can tell you with all of my friends in the market right now, watching them go through COVID, all the ones that have been conservative investors are all perfectly comfortable and fine and are writing COVID out, no problem, because they've got 6 to 12 months of reserve sitting there. And then the ones that don't and that have their interest only notes coming to expire in these 6 months, I'm very excited about, because that's going to be an opportunity for all of us, because they weren't very conservative. So we teach from a very conservative standpoint for that exactly a COVID kind of situation. So I think one of the things that I want to go over today is Jennifer had mentioned on the thread to bring your goals to the call. You might or might not have caught that. I saw Vitel's shocked look. So if you have, take a minute. I want you to take a minute. And this is going to help too. If we haven't talked about this in our one-on-one, or you haven't thought about this lately, open up the chat. And I want you to take a minute to think about, how much money do I need to generate on an annual basis? Let's start there. How much money do I need to generate on an annual basis? Not on a monthly basis, but annual, in order to take my next step, whether it's quit a job, cut back my hours, retire. Because what you'll find is that a lot of this is going to come down to how much income can the property generate, and how quickly we want to get you there and can get you there. So that's going to help a lot. So how much money do you want to create on an annual basis? If you want to do monthly, that's fine. So let me know if that's monthly or annual. Cool. And there's no right or wrong number, because these change. You'll find that, you know, if you could just get 5,000 a month, that would be life-changing. Well, obviously that's not where we want to stop, right? You know, we want to do more, because then we can help our family, we can help our children, we can take vacations, all that kind of good stuff. So cool. Because this is going to be where a lot of the conversations and the focus are going to kind of back into the strategy for you, right? Because there's 2 basic types of strategies we're looking at to start with in apartments, and that's going to be cash flow or value add. Now, there's all sorts of other things that we can get into, and there's bells and whistles and shiny object syndrome that we're going to do a lot to set to the side. It could be, you know, short-term rentals, it can be development, it can build more units, all that kind of stuff. But we got to start with the basics to get our momentum going. Okay, cool, awesome. And now you don't need to write this down on the chat, but I want you to, and take your notes, keep a piece of paper, okay? Write down what your first annual goal is, okay? And next to that, I want you to write down, how much capital do you personally have to start with? And that's okay, whatever that number is. It could be 0, it could be 5,000, it could be 100,000. Doesn't matter. And you don't need to write that in the chat. Just write that down to start with, okay? Because the way this journey works for a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people, real estate is, I'll say, more fun when you can do it with somebody else. And that's part of where, as I've done deals with people and as I've worked with different people, in the industry over the years, it's always been because of people I've enjoyed working with and bringing in different skill sets and bringing in different money. And so if you have $100,000 to start with or $50,000 to start with, that's awesome. That's great. Okay. But if you have $2,000 to start with or zero, that's okay. That is okay. I can absolutely promise you that you can buy a building without any of your own capital. Now, are there other challenges associated with that? Yes, of course. You're going to have to raise capital. And I know that if you've listened to any of our videos together, you know that I'm a big advocate of raising capital, whether you have your own or not. And so in the assessing your resources section, as you're going through that, it's going to kind of get your juices going again. Because even if you had $1 million to go start with today and invest, and let's say you put that into a 10 cap market. So this is, I want you to pull out your phones if you have phones. Okay, we're going to start backing into some of this. In fact, I want you to take this, do this, take your number. Okay, so let's say this is the number you want as your cash flow at the end. And we're going to assume you're going to pay all cash for a deal. So we're going to back in to the amount of capital or the amount of building that we need to be looking at, okay? So if you want to generate, I'm going to start with Marlene's number at the top, and you each do your own number. So the formula you're going to get really, really familiar with a lot, and you're going to use this all the time. I use it all the time. I use this for networking. This is one of my favorite formulas for networking. So the formula you're using is your net operating income divided by your cap rate, so NOI divided by cap rate equals building value. So that's how much real estate do you need to have? Okay, thank you. Perfect, beautiful. So that's how we're going to start to back into this. So if you want, using Brad and Marlene's, $150,000 of NOI, assuming we're paying all cash. Okay, and if we divide that by, let's say, a 10 cap market, so a 0.1, then we need $1.5 million worth of real estate in order to generate that without any mortgage. Okay, so that's not a bad number. 1.5 million, that's a good number, right? But that's all cash. Okay. All right, and so now let's imagine, I'll hit clear. Now let's imagine that it's 150,000 and divide that by, let's say you're in a 5 cap market, 0.05. What'd you guys get? Hold up your fingers. So 150,000 divided by 0.05 puts you into is $3 million worth of real estate. Okay. So Marlene, you don't have to get 7 million. You're okay, girlfriend, only 3. So that, I want to start to put some bookends around for you and start to help wrap your minds around, because these in apartments, the numbers are bigger. And so I want to start exercising that muscle and that comfort level of going, it's only a $2 million building. It's only a $5 million building. I know, some of you are like, she's crazy. And I know, right? I know, and for some of you, that's a really big number to think of $1 million building. You're like, oh my God. And now it's like, it's only $1 million. I can't wait. The day's going to come where every single one of you is going to get on that thread, or you're going to text me, probably text it to the group, be like, it's only $1 million. I said it today. It was only $1 million. Oh, it's only 20 units. It'll be awesome. But it can be a bit of it can be a scary number in the beginning. That could be a scary number. So to help you understand some of what we're going to be working towards in this journey is whatever your goal is of that net operating income, so that's assuming it's just all paid in cash, then if you look in lower cap rate markets, you're going to need more property, more expensive property. If you look in higher cap rate markets, you need less property, less expensive property. Okay? And for most of you, except for Miss Patel, your number, you're going to, yeah, you know, go for it.
Threw out a number.
I did.
I mean,
it's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that number. It's an awesome number.
I have expensive taste.
I go big or go home, right? And that's okay. That's okay. None of these are right or wrong numbers. And these numbers change. Every year I sit down and I take a look at, well, how much do I want to do? What's my number this year? Where do I want to go this year? Right now I'm kind of in a mindset of, I just want to start stacking a building a year and having that stacked so that within 3 to 5 years, I'm selling one, I'm selling another, I'm selling another. And just getting that stack built up, it's only one building. That will be in 3 years, life-changing. 2 years, life-changing. This is a little bit longer time frame, right? So if you need a quick fix, go do the 2 to 4 units, right? But this is a little bit longer of a time horizon. 3 years, we're not gonna be that much older. And it will be amazing. 2 years, 12 months, right? So one of the things as well, now that you're more familiar with this formula, I want to show you a little trick since we're on this topic. And I've shown it to some of you, but I'm going to show it to all of you. This is what I use when I go out networking and people ask me what I do. And I'm raising capital. And so I use that formula. And my favorite example, and some of you are going to be like, I know what she's going to do. I know where she's going with this. All right, well, let's do it for practice, right? So I take out if I'm networking at an event and they're going to come back and people are going to ask you, what do you do? And I have found that I like a value add building because I don't want to tie up all my money. If somebody's got $2 million to go buy a building with, I'm certainly glad to go buy a building with their $2 million. Why not? I mean, let's do it. So I have to have a conversation though about what that looks like, and I have to show them why value add is so cool. Even if it's just a little baby value add, not a big value add. Even if it's just a little cash flow, but a little baby one. And when I say little baby value add, like maybe you only raise the rents $50, right? But there are buildings out there where you can raise the rent $300, and that's really cool. But let's do the simple example. So you're networking. People are going to say, well, what do you do? All of you now go buy apartments. All of you now go buy apartments. That's what all of you do. They say, what do you do? I buy apartments. That alone will be a conversation starter for most people. Because most people don't buy apartments. They buy single family homes, they do fix and flips, they don't go buy apartments. So already you're pretty cool in most circumstances. If people are gonna think that's pretty cool. So I buy apartments. My favorites, what I like to say is I put together small groups of investors because we're not, I know this has been in some of the conversations. This is not about doing big syndications. We are not getting together 100 investors. We're not teaching that. That's not where we're going to go in this course. We're going to talk about small groups of like just a couple of people, if that's what you choose to do. Okay. So I put together small groups of investors and we go buy apartment buildings. And then we fix them up and we raise the rents so we can either refinance them or sell them. That's it. I buy apartment buildings with small groups of investors to fix them up so we can refinance them or sell them. All of you can now say that because you are all going to be looking for apartment buildings now. Okay. Now they go, that's cool. So now we're going to use your formula and show them how cool it is. So, okay, so here's an example. We're going to take a 10-unit building. So imagine like I'm going to go buy a 10-unit building, right? So all of you are going to go buy a 10-unit building. Okay, so you're going to need your phones. I'm going to go buy a 10-unit building. And I'm going to raise the rents $100 a month on every tenant because they're just really behind the market. I can. And we might fix them up a little bit, right? So 100, and then I just start typing it in. I type 100 times 10 units. So I just made an extra $1,000 a month. So take your phones, you just took 100 times 10 units and made an extra $1,000 a month, right? Like that's cool, but that's not going to retire any of us here, right? Like we still got to go make some money somewhere else. That's not going to hit any one of the goals on any of our lists, right? And I say that that's not a super sexy number. It's like, yeah, you know, it's nice, but it's not like, wow. And then that number, the way we look at this, we multiply it by 12, because this is how commercial real estate works. This is how apartment buildings work. So we got to look at an annual number. So 10 units, $100 a month makes me an extra $12,000 a year. And that's pretty cool, right? And everyone will be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. But it's not that cool because none of us can quit our jobs, right? None of us can just retire and go sit on the beach or hike a mountain or whatever floats your boat, or go fishing or something, okay? And everyone go, yeah, no, that's not that exciting. All right, now imagine that this building, and by now you usually are gonna have a couple people standing around you. Imagine that this building is in and let's see here, I'm gonna assign, so let's see, Natasha, Kahisha, Cammie and Leroy, Joni, Vamsi, and Temi. I want you to divide that $12,000 by 0.1 for a 10 cap market. Battelle, Amy, Marlene, and Brad, and Steve, I want you to do a 5 cap market. Divide by 0.05. Okay, so my 10 cappers, what did you get?
120. Oh,
You can talk or type. That's okay. Yeah, it's a small group. You got 120,000, right? 120,000. That's pretty cool, right? 120. So if I go to a 10 unit building and I raise the rents $100 a month, I've just increased the value of the building $120,000. Now that hits some people's numbers right there. That's pretty sexy. That's cool, right? Like that's not bad. Now my 5 cappers, yeah, Steve, you were dying. Yes. In a 5 cap market, I just raised the value. Yes, Marlene, $240,000. Okay, that's really cool. That's nice. That's a nice number. So now, if I'm going to pick a market to go and create that chunk of money, I don't need to come up with $1.5 million to park to get it on passive income, which is nice. I can go get just a little 10 unit building and raise everything $100. And I got between $120,000 and $240,000. So I say this to give you hope that you don't have to go huge to have a big impact in your financial future. So that's pretty exciting. And usually everybody's pretty jazzed standing around you going, oh my God, I want to do that. I want $240,000. I'd be happy with $120,000. Are you kidding me? To have a whole bunch of little 10 unit buildings around the country that you're just kicking off $120,000. Like, I want to go shopping. I'll sell an apartment building. Okay. I'll go refinance an apartment building. Like, okay, is that cool? Yes? Okay. Awesome.
Can I throw something in real quick?
Throw it in. Go.
Sometimes you forget, because especially when you're in a group like this, and like, and Jennifer and I are in our like high level masterminds, like everybody's at that level. And so you just kind of think, well, everybody knows this that we're talking about, because it's your world. And as we continue on these Thursday calls, this becomes like your world. And so it seems like, well, everybody, since this is all your world and everybody around you is on your mastermind is talking about it, it seems like everybody knows this. And they don't at all. Even if they've heard of real estate investing and they're interested, apartments is usually way beyond anything they've even thought about. And value add is an advanced strategy for new investors or even intermediate investors. It's considered an advanced strategy. So you can wow the heck out of people when you're presenting it that way. So just keep in mind, when you're talking to people who are newer, it's not like they're going to be like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. They're going to be like, wait, what? Like, what are you even talking about? Is that a thing? So just remember, like, it becomes your world and it seems really familiar to you. It won't be to the people that you're talking to. And that is just a phenomenal way for you to attract people to you who want to get involved with your deals.
It just makes the conversation easy. I mean, that's a pretty easy story, right? Like, you all can do that. I know every single one of you can do that. And that's simply like, that's one of my favorite ways to raise capital, is in a real estate club, telling that little story with a whole bunch of fix and flippers. Go ahead, Steve.
So when people start, like, I fairly new at all this, the last year or so, but everyone thinks you want high cap rate because obviously you make more money on high cap, right? It only makes sense. But when you realize in apartments, it's totally reversed. I mean, it's people don't get it. When I'm talking to, when I was talking to realtors before, they're like, oh, what cap rate you want? And you say, oh, it'd be nice if we could get 10. Well, in apartments, it'd be nice if you could get 5, and you rehab them and increase the value. So it's totally reverse.
Totally reverse. It is. And that's when the cap rate conversation, many of you may still feel very fuzzy on that. And that's normal. Just know that you're at the right place and you're on the right path. If you feel fuzzy, that's normal. It will get easier to understand, because what Steve's pointing out is absolutely the truth. It's the opposite. And it really, and you're going to see this as you go through the videos and work through the courses, is that it depends upon your strategy. So, like, for me as a value add investor, I like a lower cap rate, but not too low, because I want a difference between my mortgage interest rate and my cap rate, so I'm not negative. So a 5, a 6, a 7 is a really good cap rate for me, because I can make more money quicker, right? But for those of you that have followed my mom's 1031 journey, I don't want a low cap rate for my mom. She's about cash flow. She's about a monthly check. So I need to get like an 8, 9, or 10 cap for her. It's a totally different conversation. Yeah, and it's great because and I'm just talking through some of this right now to kind of set some ideas or plant some seeds for you as you're going through it, and you figure out. Every single one of you is in a very different position. So don't do a strategy because I do it, or my mom does it, or a friend does it. Do it because it makes sense for you. And that's what we're here for on these Thursdays and on your one-on-ones and through the videos, is to help you accomplish your goal your way. Because I promise you, every single one of you is going to do something different. That's the cool thing about real estate. Go ahead, Amy.
Okay, so just to make sure that I'm like comprehending this. So if you're basically like a fix and flip, even though it might take like a year or two, you want a lower cap rate. And if you're doing a buy and hold strategy long-term, a higher cap rate. Is that right?
Sure, yeah. And let me back that in a different way to make that real for you. Okay, so let's use the same formula. So you have that formula, because it's just a 3-piece formula, right? So if you know 2 of the pieces, you can always solve for the 3rd.
Okay.
So we solved to see how much real estate you needed to begin with, right? That was the first thing. Then we solved to see, well, how much could I raise the value of the building? Now let's solve for cash flow. Let's back it in the other way. So let's say that you have $1 million to invest, okay? And you want to see how much NOI should you be getting for that $1 million. So take your phones. So if I have $1 million to invest, I got to write out the formula because it always, okay. So this formula we're about to do is a little different than the other ones. We're going to take the $1 million to invest, and we're going to multiply it by the cap rate. So multiply it first. So my group that were my 10 cappers, I want you to take that number and multiply it by 0.1. Okay. My 5 cappers, I want you to take that $1 million and multiply it by 0.05. Okay, my millions in the 10 cappers, my 10 cappers, how much did you get? How much NOI did you get in a 10 cap market? Yep, 100,000. Yep, awesome. My 5 cappers, how much NOI did you get? 50,000. That's right. Well, if I'm going for cash flow, now I want to be in I want to be in the 10 cap market, right? It's totally the opposite than a value add. Totally the opposite. So great, and I'm glad you brought that up, Steve, so you can start the conversation. And Amy, I'm glad you asked that a little bit more. Does that start to clear it up a little bit? Yeah, Vamsi, good, awesome.
Yeah, it totally makes sense now too. Like with what Stacy was saying is you have to know your strategy before you begin. You're going to totally look at it a different way. So
totally,
yeah.
You won't be in the same markets at all. At all. So, and that's where just being able to use that formula comfortably, and that's why I like to do the hands-on stuff, right? So you can like see it and feel and go, oh, and I love that about Stacey because she's such a hands-on instructor as well. Because now you're going, okay, that's just a totally different strategy. I'm not at all gonna go, when I go look at markets, if I am gonna go after value add, I'm gonna go for lower cap rate markets. If I want cash flow and I have money to park, it's easier to do value add if you don't have your own cash. Let me put that out there. If you don't have your own cash to work with, it's easier to do value add because you're going to generate some money and then, you know, get rid of your investor. And now you're going to have some cash. If you got cash to go park, it's easier to do cash flow if you want to just go get some passive income. But if you don't have $1 million to go park, we got to get you that $1 million, right? And if you want $1 million to get cash flow, you're going to go look in an 8, 9, 10 cap market versus a 5, 6, 7 cap market. You guys won't even be crossing paths, which is why it's so cool. And I'm excited about you as a group because every single one of you, even if you look in the same markets, which some of you might look in some similar markets, know that there is no competition here. There are too many deals out there to be had. You're going to pick markets for different reasons. Like me personally, I live in California, so the thought of flying to Florida makes me kind of want to like claw my eyes out because that's all day. It's so far. It's just so far. Like I don't want to go past Arizona. Maybe Colorado, but there's a ton of interesting, I'll come visit you guys. So, but if you live in Florida, like Steve does, I'd be all over Florida because there's so much, the East Coast has got so much going on the East Coast, right? So like part of it's going to happen because of where you live, part of it's going to, and you're going to go through this and figure out where's your happy place. And here's the most interesting thing too, I'll tell you. And this is why I want this to always be a safe place. So it's really, really important. Your integrity in this business, your reputation in this business, it will follow you. And I know that every single one of you in here have integrity and ethics, and this is a safe space, okay? So no stealing deals from each other, no stealing investors from each other. That's just not the way this works at all. And none of you would do that. Okay, I've watched all of you now for weeks. None of you would do that because it'll tank your career faster than anything. Okay, and there's also, I know, no competition because you're going to attract people to you that are just going to. I always want you to look for people that are all about you, that support you as you go through this journey. Realtors that support you, property managers that support you, lenders that support you, that are all about you. They are out there. They're out there. And I was in one market with students because I've done some coaching in the past where I physically go there. It's very expensive to get me on the road these days, so I don't really much care to do it. And so I was out there back to back in the same city with 2 different students. So literally 3 days with one student and then 3 days with another student. I don't pick the cities. I don't pick the timing, none of that, right? That's the way it all lined up. So the first students were like, oh my God, like what if they get our deals? I'm like, oh, you just relax. Don't worry. It's not gonna happen. And I promise you, it just doesn't happen, because even in a big market, and even though in a big market, it's actually very small, we only met with one realtor that was the same and looked at one deal that was the same. And we looked at like 6 or 7 deals each and sat down with 2 totally different property managers and 2 totally different lenders. You're going to attract to you different people. So there is no competition. There is no competition. It's just about helping each other, really, honestly. I mean, that's one of the things you're going to find, and this will be a good group to just bounce ideas off of. I saw Steve's putting it, I want to do some of each. I love it. Why not? Yes, absolutely. And then some of y'all are going to want to throw some short-term rentals in, and then you're going to be calling Battelle, because I hear she's like the pro at those. Pretty cool. I've put some short-term rentals in some apartment buildings, and it's pretty interesting on the cash flow. Pretty interesting. Yeah. That's a lot of work. So none of y'all are going to start there. It's a boatload of work. Trust me, we're just going to, that's later. That's advanced. That's like 2.0. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of set that thought for today. We really didn't have anything specific to do, just to get you in, get you going. I wanted to kind of start giving you some of your spiel. Wanted you to see where to go, but really now the next step for each of you is to, when we come to next week's call, and I think let's probably do this. I don't think this is too premature to do. If you haven't, Stacy, you think they can pick their market by next week?
Depends on how much time you guys have to consume the information and then put it to work. So I think if you can, I don't know, that might be quick. That might be. If you can, that would be awesome. I think just getting in there and starting to do the research, because some of it, even the websites are new, navigating through the websites, that's a lot to land. Okay. But I think just start working on it, and if you end up picking one by then, cool. But I wouldn't say that would be I wouldn't set that as a due date. Okay. Be a little aggressive.
So I'd say the goal for next week, okay, let's get into the content for everybody and start consuming it as quickly as you can. I realize every single one of you have lives outside of your real estate, okay, and so that's okay. That's okay, because Brad, except for Brad, so that's awesome. All right, Brad, I'm looking to you, man. So, and I honestly don't have much of a life outside of real estate, but that's okay. You know, it's get as far as you can. Okay. I want you to get into the content, and I want you to start getting a sense of your pace. So this is absolutely a marathon, everyone. This is we're on 90 Days Accelerator. You can get really far in the next 90 days, really far. I would venture to say that some of you can get under contract in the next 90 days. Now I'm trying to be cautious, but I really would venture. And I would also venture that some of you can raise a couple $100,000 in the next 90 days.
Yeah, one thing, so I'd say that for next week, the ideal approach, which is a little bit different, you know, than the other courses that, you know, that I've prepared for you guys, is I would really like you guys to lay a really solid foundation. And normally I'm like, here, let me teach you a little thing and then go do the little thing, the next little thing, and then go do the little thing. But these things are big. They're big concepts. A lot of it is new. There's however many videos there are right now. If you can, between now and next week, if you can at a minimum just watch everything for the baseline, because a lot of these you're going to watch a handful of times, not all the videos, but some of them you're going to be like, wait, where did you just click? And during certain ones, like when I teach you about researching market, I will literally take a handful of markets and start off with, I think I started with 7 markets and took you through the entire journey from day 1 research, population research, and just did it with you. So with that one, once you see it, you'd be like, okay, if you need to go back and rewatch it, you're literally watching me click here, click there. It's not theory. I teach you the theory, and then I have my Zoom on while I'm doing it so that you can see. But if you can just lay the foundation, just watch the first set of videos. If the entire course was done, I wouldn't tell you to do the whole course, because by the time you get to the end, you'll have forgotten what was at the beginning. But there's only, was it 60 videos?
Yeah.
I know that seems like a lot, but if you watch it at the 2 speed, you get it done in half the time.
1.8.
Yeah. Just start with, lay the foundation so that you can be like, okay, at least it's all familiar and I see where this is going. And then go back and watch the videos that are like, okay, so I know I have to start doing the market research. I need to decide an investing strategy. I need to do the market research. That's where I'm going to actually spend time in implementation. But if you can first just consume, watch the information, knowing that's not the only time you're going to see it, and then go back and rewatch the ones that you need to in order to see how to do it, and then start doing it. And I'd say if you can spend the next week watching videos, and then by the following week have gotten all the way through doing all the market research and landing on a market the way I teach you, I think that would be a good thing. And of course, if you do it faster than that, that's fine. If it takes you longer than that, that's okay too. But I think that that's probably a realistic and just a good approach, because a lot of this is going to be new.
Yeah. And don't beat yourselves up, please. Do not beat yourselves up, and if get through whatever you can get through, do whatever you can. And we're all gonna get there at the end. So whether it's in a week, a month, 3 months, it's okay. It doesn't matter. This is about changing your life. This is not a magic bullet. This is not a magic pill. This is a process. So get as far as you can. And then Jennifer joined us. Yes! We're gonna do a very similar structure here with these calls that we do, that Stacy does on Tuesdays, right? So we're gonna come in with setting up what's our focus for the week. What did I do? What are my wins for the week? What did I accomplish? And I look at that because the way I was taught that was, these are sprouts. And when you have little accomplishments, that's what turns into a big old oak tree. So you can't go stomping on your sprouts and expect an oak tree. So we got to celebrate those little baby sprouts, and we got to nurture them so that they keep growing, right? So they don't just suddenly, go, oh, well, she didn't like me, or he didn't like me, and went and stomped on me, or let your dog out like my dog, and he goes and pees on it, and one of my plants is dead now. Anyway, sorry. Gardener's issue.
How do you really feel about that, Kimberly?
I was mad.
And Jen, before you jump into the section I know you're going to jump into next, I want to share a story with you guys, just so you can kind of start dreaming or thinking about what the journey ahead is and where you should be starting. So part of why I know a lot about investing, but part of why I know as much as I know about apartment investing is because back in 2004, I started a property management company in Detroit, because there was a handful of us as new investors had moved out there, and we were just trying to make a difference in the city. Well, the city pretty much handed me my ass, so that was lovely. But from an investing standpoint, kicked me up one down side of the street and down the other. However, during that time I was there were certain things that I learned, both from as an investor and also on the other side as a provider of property management. And so I want to share with you a little bit about some of the journeys, both of my own and of some of the people that I worked with, so that you can kind of get an idea for where you're starting, but where it can go. So I had, back in 2004, we started a management company. Within about 6 or 8 months, we had our first apartment building that we took over. And I was responsible for all of the, doing the software and running the company and hiring the employees, all of the infrastructure side of the management company, dealing with the landlords and things like that. And then I had another partner who was all about maintenance. We did a ton of rehabbing in the company. And then I had another one who was involved in leasing and dealing with tenants. So the first time we had someone come and buy an apartment building, he was the same new as an investor. We started in 2003. He started in 2003. We were even in the same classes and things like that. He's from California. My name is Marco. And Marco bought a 19 unit property in Detroit for some ridiculously low amount of money. All right, because he's like, I mean, how could you go wrong? It was like 10,000 a unit or something super, super, super low. And he bought it, didn't really know what to do for due diligence, just bought it and closed on it. And it was like, okay, Stacy, here you go. Here's my building. And so through that process, and what I found is when we took over the building, there's a lot of people who weren't. I had to figure out who was there, who was paying, who needed to be out, because even though they're paying, we don't want that element there. And all the improvements, what was said by the seller versus what was real. He had already closed on it. So that process, he just bought something that nearly bankrupted him because the amount of rehab it needed was so vast. And he didn't know that going in. He just didn't do the due diligence on it. But he ended up surviving that deal barely, right? He ended up doing what he could, he ended up getting out of it, but it laid a foundation for him to then go to the next one. And of course he didn't, do this kind of coaching to learn how to do it. But then he went on and he did a 25 unit and then a 40 unit and then a 50 unit. And then so over time he started taking what he was learning and expanding. He also was doing in the very beginning, getting small groups of investors together and just saying, hey, this is what we're looking to do. So I want you to keep in mind that what you're doing today, you have a much bigger picture down the line, but it starts with your first one, whether it's 5 units or 20 units or 30, whatever it is, it's the place that you start so that you learn what the business is. You start building the connections, building the relationships with people who are going to be your partners or your private money lenders in the future. So I just want to lay that foundation because I want you to think it's not about, I got to get this thing right now, right? It's the very beginning of a business that's going to be here for a long time. So when Jung goes through going through like goal setting and things like that, think about where you are today and what's the one brick that if you could pull it out of the wall or put it in the wall is going to make the biggest impact for whatever is the next and the next and the next. I don't want you to be overwhelmed by the bigger picture of it. Just what is the one thing that's in front of you that if you could knock that out this next week or these next couple weeks, you'll be well prepared for the one next step because the journey is a long one. If you do it right, you'll do it methodically and carefully and not just rush in and buy a 19 unit that's an absolute disaster because you don't take the time to find out what it is. So anyway, so Jen, I'll hand it over to you. I just kind of wanted to lay that foundation for you guys so that you remember to go back to where you are just right now. Don't get overwhelmed by the bigger picture. Where are you right now? What is the 1 or 2 things that you can do?
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take over. I know that I'm coming in late, so I'm not entirely sure what's already been talked about, and I apologize for that. I'm a coach, a mindset coach for people who do talks on stage. This lady, I thought it was going to be a 15-minute call. She ended up changing her whole speech, so I digress. I want to make sure that everybody has right now, get a pen, get a paper. I want all of you to write down the goal you have between now and next Thursday that you're going to come to this call and say that you've accomplished. In the chat or by show of hands really quick, how many of you already done your strategy call with either Kimberly or Stacy? Like raise your hand if you have. Cool. Cammie, Brett, Marlene, Marlene and Brett? Okay. So everybody. Okay, cool. All right. Based on that strategy call, I'm sure that there was like a macro overarching plan on what you were going to accomplish in the long run. But I want you to think about what do I need to go do and burn my calories on for the next week. And even you're going to be able to come to the Tuesday call too. So, and if you stub your toe, the Tuesday call is there for you to ask a question along the way as well. But every week, I want you guys to set a goal to how much of the content will you consume in the platform? What's the one thing that you need to do to move the mercury towards your goal to get you into the end zone so that each week, each of these 12 weeks when we come in here, we're going to have you report out how did you come up on your goals? Did you hit them? What'd you stub your toe on? Where do you need clarity? And how can we help course correct you and get you back on track so that you're actually implementing? A coach that doesn't make you implement is not a good coach. So we're going to implement while we're on the call and answer any questions that you have. Vamsi, I wanted to address the questions you have. I know that there might be a concern that the calls might go an hour, hour and a half. We're shooting to make these as concise as possible. That's why we're only trying to get 15 people in here. So the whole cadence of the call is going to be based on the macro strategy level that you set up with Stacy and Kimberly. Identify the goals that you need to do each week. Come here. This is my goal for next week at the end of each call. And then at the beginning of the next week's call, here's how I'm progressing to those. Here's where I've stubbed my toe. Let me go on it. And I just really quickly want to go around the horn and have everybody say, you got 90 seconds to say it. So if you could say it in 5 words versus 10, that'd be great. What's the one thing, 1 to 2 things, like how much content are you going to consume? And what's the one thing that you're just going to like go for? Okay. So, and right now you guys are all in a different order. So I'm just going to call on you from left to right on my screen. So Marlene, you won the lottery and you're first.
My question to Brad just was, what did she just say? So.
Perfect. Rule number 1, pay attention. Just kidding. What's your goal? How much content are you going to consume between now and next week? And what are you going to get done by next week's call? That's what I want everybody. That's the deliverable.
So obviously, watch videos from Stacy. Trying to find investors. I've tried and it hasn't quite worked. I did some Zoom with investors through LinkedIn and or through Facebook. I found investor groups and it was just a Zoom class. So you couldn't even introduce yourself. They had a speaker. So I need to focus a little bit more on investors.
Okay. Perfect. Do you have a specific, do you know how to set does everybody know what I mean when I say a SMART goal? Okay. Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely. So make it specific. What's the measure? How will you know that you've arrived? Like what's your convincer? What's your key performance metric?
3 to 5 financing people.
Perfect. Okay. So set that as your goal.
Okay.
Okay. By when?
By next Thursday.
By
What
next
happens
Thursday.
if you don't? And what happens if you don't?
I'm going to cry on Brad's shoulder.
More importantly, what happens if you do?
Not beat myself up.
Cool. You celebrate the win, right? So we're going to do that same thing. We're just going to say, this is what I'm going to do by this date. Here's the consequence if it doesn't happen. And it's not like, oh God, we're going to spank you. You're not that lucky. I'm just kidding.
You should see me. We got homework from Kimberly and from Stacy. And I'm like, oh God, I got homework. Whose do I do first?
Yeah, do whichever one is going to get you the result first, right? Right. That's how I would decide it. We're going to teach you how to do everything that's like very number specific and taking calculated risks. All right, Marlene and Brad, thank you so much. Kahisha, you're on the top left now.
Hi.
Hi.
Get 5 or speak to 5 lenders, and then also complete the first section of the course.
Awesome. And I'm hoping that either Kimberly or Stacy are writing these down for me because I do intend to bring these up on Thursday. Thank you. I knew you would be there for me, Kimberly. Thank you. Steve, you're up.
All right. I plan on watching all the videos that are available.
Of course you do. Why not?
I'll get there because those are the less interesting, fun stuff. So I'll get that done first. I need to research a couple more markets that I am interested in seeing what the cap rates are in and seeing if I want to expand my plan. Those are my main 2 goals, but I'll probably do about 1,000 more things because
as long as you get those 2 goals done. Cool. Okay.
All right.
Vamsi, you're up.
All right. 10 videos.
Nice.
3 call to lenders because that's, and then I might get financials from the property which is under contract right now. So that'll take priority over everything else if that comes through. So if not, then 10 calls 10 videos and 3 lender calls.
Perfect. Thank you.
And
All right.
at the end of that, John, can we have Vamsi just kind of update this group, since this is a concise group for apartments, on what her deal is, what she's looking at, kind of what she's faced so far and what she's facing?
I would
she's
love
just
to if she's
ahead.
I would love to. She had I didn't know if she had a time constraint or not. You want to do that, Vamsi, at the end?
Yeah, that's fine. I just want not to miss like quickly, the Tuesday calls go on very long, right? So I want to be there, but I can't. So I want to not miss out. I don't want, Regina to learn more than I do. So I want a concise time where I say, okay, 1.5 hours, everybody get, and then that's it. I don't want to keep thinking, oh, she said she taught something else, which is important, and I wasn't there. So
Got it. Okay.
that was the, yeah. And
yeah. I would schedule them for 2, and I'm going to try as hard as hell to get it done in an 1.5 hours.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Good goals, Vamsi. Amy, you're up.
I plan on watching all the videos.
Of course you do.
Of course.
Steve, the female version of Steve is here. Yeah.
And probably just start diving in, looking at markets.
Okay.
And just trying to kind of wrap my head around that.
More specifically, how many markets?
How many markets?
How many markets are you going to dive into?
3.
3? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, cool. Batel. Hello.
Hey. So I plan on watching, I don't know how many videos there are, but I wrote 20 videos.
Right now there's, I think, 60 right now.
Oh, okay. So 20 videos. And last week I picked a market, actually, or 2 markets, and I spoke to some realtors. I have to go through some more comps. I'm talking back and forth with them. So for me, it's going through the comps, analyzing, and I wrote with a question mark, make an offer. I don't want to say, if I don't like it, I'm not going to make an offer, but.
So would it be a fair statement to say your goal is analyze it. If the numbers make sense, make a fucking offer?
Yeah.
Okay, write that down. All right, Joni, you're up. You want me to unmute you? I don't know if I have the power.
Yeah, I just did it, I think.
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Vamsi, you do not have a problem with me learning more than you. Don't worry about it. Okay. My goal for the week, I think I'd like to do a minimum of 2 hours a day on videos. That's a minimum. I may go a little bit more. I don't know how long the videos are.
Love it.
But, that's my minimum on videos. Okay. What else did I write? Oh, I'd like to contact 3 to 5 hard money lenders and regular conventional lenders by next week. Okay. Get their criteria. The hard money lenders get their criteria for lending and that type of stuff. And I also would like to work on analyzing more, just kind of getting into the habit of analyzing properties.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the formula that we learned today.
Okay.
Now that I understand it a little bit better, I want to.
Perfect.
Practice.
How many do you want to practice on?
Oh, gosh.
You guys are going to hate me, but you're going to love
2
me.
a day? 2 a day?
Okay, 2 a day. Cool.
Oh, shit. Maybe once a day. 1 a day.
1 a day. Okay. I love the shit factor. Cool.
Yeah.
So 1 a day. You got that, Kimberly? 1 a day.
I did.
All right. Tammy, I am so glad you are here. How about you? You're up.
The goal is 2 hours worth of videos, which I also don't know the length of each video, but like I'm gonna spend 2 hours between today and Thursday watching the videos, and then pick a market.
Perfect.
By Thursday. Yeah.
By Thursday. Got it. Cammy. I don't see Leroy's shoulder. Where's he at? Is he not here? Did I miss that? Did you guys already talk about that?
Yeah. Oh, no.
It's
I
like.
thought I unmuted myself. He's at work.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He gets to be locked away in the office. That's why my office is in the kitchen where I can be relaxed.
All right. So you're up. What are your goals for next week?
I guess do the first section of videos since I haven't even started. It's my first access day. So, and then,
and the videos, guys, the videos on average are like, I think 15 minutes.
Max, yeah.
Yeah. They're very easy to consume, just so you guys know.
And then I'm always calling lenders, I feel like. So definitely like getting through to one, hopefully getting 5 completed by next Thursday.
5.
Yes.
5. Got it. Right on. Does anybody feel any sort of sense of fear, or is your butthole puckering like any? Okay, Kahisha. Sorry, babe. I know. They like me to be raw and candid like that when I'm talking about their buttholes. Don't worry. Kahisha. I hope I'm not offending anybody. I'm just trying to be funny. You have some fear, Kahisha? You got some fear? All right. Okay. Yeah, we could talk about it offline. Whenever you get hung up, don't forget, you guys can just hit me up. Okay. I don't know, Messenger, just message me on Facebook. If you're like, oh God, I don't know. I'll walk you through it. I'll talk you off the ledge or push you off, because this is Sparta. All right, we good? Vamsi, you want to go ahead and give us a recap?
Yeah, I think most of you have already heard about this over and over. But there's a 12 unit apartment split into 2 buildings in New Bern, North Carolina, which we've been working for weeks. The owner is out of state, and property management does the property management stuff. And so it went under contract. It was extremely long due diligence because of COVID and whatever else. But even that we had to push out because they were giving all the financials or whatever we were asking. But in, I don't know, they gave 500 different documents for us to go through. But we were asking them in a concise, like, 2018 expenses and cap, 2019 expenses. And income, and so we've been struggling with them to give us those numbers so that we can analyze it. That's the short form or short version of it. I'm sure, Stacy. So we invited them, the property management, to come talk to Stacy, because she knows other softwares and all, to show them, click here and you will get this data which we are looking for. But that didn't happen. But now the seller's broker has a direct contact in the property management's office. So he's trying to get that information out. I don't know if the numbers are going to work or not, because initially when we did the quick analysis, it wasn't the greatest. The expenses were super, super low. And we were like, this is not, if it is, then that's great. But if it's not, then we need to figure out what the expenses actually are. What else? I'm not sure. Stacy, anything else I should add?
I think just, when Vamsi was looking at it, it was a straight stabilized property purchase. However, it appears that there actually might be some value play component to it. So Vamsi and I have been waiting to send the information because we're just literally going to analyze it together. It's part of, because I didn't have a course already to just say, hey, here's how you do due diligence. So I was just going to do it with her and teach her by doing it. But we just have had a difficult time getting the data to do it. But we're going to be analyzing that deal from both perspectives, both as stabilized and as a value add, so that she knows like how much can she pay. And if she's going to bring in other investors, which she might do as partners or private lenders or whatever, she needs to be able to demonstrate, hey, this is the opportunity. It cash flows at this right now, but based on doing X, Y, and Z plan over the next 12 months, this is what it will cash flow. And more importantly, this is how much it's going to be, the increase in value because of it. Because we've seen indicators that we can, at a minimum, raise rents. That might be the only thing that we can do, but we just can't even seem to get the data. So we haven't jumped into it because we're like, give us some information from which to go. So I really wanted you to share that with them, Vamsi, because one, because you're the furthest along as far as having a deal. And one, as you're going through the journey, everybody can learn from you and what you're doing. Plus the other thing is, let's just be realistic. This is a network and a mastermind. It could be that Steve's like, oh, hey, I have a doctor friend who doesn't have time, but totally needs to put his money somewhere. And if you have a deal and I'm familiar with it and I'm familiar with you, you know, maybe I can make a connection of you guys. So it's a couple things. One, just to help you guys get familiar with each other and what you're working on. But two, there's a lot of learning that comes out of every real deal. And so as you and I are going through it, Vamsi, I want, you know, to the extent that it makes sense, there's learnings, I want other people to know also, and also just to get a chance to get to know you better. And you might end up being a referral source for someone else down the line. Also, I don't know if you guys know this from previous conversations, but you know, we know Patel is like the queen of Airbnbs. Like she knows everything about Airbnbs and is big in that space. Vamsi knows a lot about land, buying land and then selling it on seller financing. That's what she's been doing for a couple of years now. So she's a lot of knowledge in that area. So I just want you guys to get to know each other and also what your other talents are and also what you are looking for in case you can help to bridge a connection for each other. And it just like law of attraction, like what goes around comes around. And so that's it. I want you talking about the deal because everyone can learn, but also it gives people a chance to get to know you. And if someone knows an investor that wants to be involved in your deal, if they know about your deal, it's easier to say, oh, hey, let me make an intro.
Right. And I didn't want a complete rehab because this was going to be my first apartment. The complete rehabs were out. I wanted something which were cash flowing at this moment. And then there was a value add. So right now, all the apartments, 10 out of 12 are at 500, 550 per month range. But the two new ones which went on the market are about 7 or 750.
Nice.
So there is a potential, but there are long-term renters in there. So it's going to be slower because when the renewals happen, that's when either you boot them or bring somebody in. So there is a potential of that, but I want to make sure that right now it cash flows with all the numbers which they are showing.
Yeah, and I think the other thing I wanted to, that when Vamsi was saying that the expenses seemed a little bit low, specifically when we were looking at the initial financials, the repairs and maintenance seemed exceptionally low. And we were like, that's odd, or that's interesting. It seems like they're in really, really good shape. The units are not that old. They're like from the 80s, mid-80s. Yeah, and they're all townhouses. They've got like, they're really good size, good layouts, everything else. But it was odd to me that the repairs and maintenance were so low. And so what we asked for to supplement that, we had asked for a couple things that were different than normal. One was we want to see a list of the capital expenditures. So as you guys get further in, you'll learn more about this, but there's different ways that you can classify an expense. And repairs and maintenance is the one where you actually have the most control to do this in a way that seems legit, right? So if I renovate a bathroom, I could either record that as an expense, maintenance expense. Oh, I replaced the sink, I replaced the toilet. Or I could say, oh, I did a bathroom renovation, and I could classify it that way. And then it doesn't show up on my profit and loss statement. It shows up on my balance sheet as an asset, a new asset that is now depreciated over the years. So it's a way that you can like kind of manipulate the taxes you pay as an operator. You can. As a buyer, and what I was concerned about with Vamsi is we need to look at that. Like, I want to see what are their capital expenditures, because their repairs and maintenance seem very low for the number of units and the age. And I'm wondering if maybe they're categorizing some of their expenses as capital expenditures, which means you think that you have a net operating income of this, but you don't really, because really that should have been classified as an expense. So we asked for a deeper level of due diligence up front just because we saw that. When we actually dive into the due diligence and we get the monthlies, the T12, which is what we're waiting for, just, you know, January, February, March, April, May through December for 2018 and 2019 and 2020, we'll probably find more things like that to go, let's ask about that. So anyway, I just kind of want to take you guys along on the journey as we're going through it, because it really helps you to understand how to underwrite and do due diligence at a deeper level, which is going to tell VOMC one of three things. Either one, the deal is great, go for it. Or two, this deal you need to run. Or three, the deal is okay, but we need to get the price down to $815,000 or whatever it is. So that's why we are waiting for the information so that we can actually do the due diligence. And they were pressuring the VOMC to get the inspection done, which costs a lot of money, right? It's thousands of dollars to get an inspection on a property of that size. And, and she was like, you haven't even given me like the basic financial due diligence yet. And it doesn't cost us anything it costs our time for us to sit down and go through that. That's what we need to do first and make sure that the deal makes sense before VOMC goes and spends a couple $1,000s on appraisal, inspection, and everything else. So I just want to take you guys along the journey so that you're learning. You're getting to know VOMC, you're getting to know the deal. And as you get into a deal, you're going to be able to draw from some of that experience. And yeah, I think those are the main things. I just kind of want everyone to be able to follow along. And it's exciting to see like all the roller coaster impact of getting into a deal like that.
No.
It's like exciting is not the word I would use.
Exciting for everyone else.
It's
like that for you. You're like, come on already.
Yeah.
I know. You know what though, VOMC? Realistically, because you had a cross-country move in the middle of all that, it's probably the best that they couldn't seem to get their stuff together.
Yeah, no, I truly strongly believe in everything happens for a reason, and that the good things are coming.
Yes.
So
100% agreed.
So that's the motto.
Yes.
Awesome.
Right on. So thank you for sharing that, VOMC. Are we cool? Does anybody have any questions? Are we wrapping? How does this work? Like, who's the boss here?
I'm gonna wrap that up then. I think we're good. Unless there's anything else, I think we're done. I don't know if you saw some of the questions that were going around there at the end though. I just want to take the pressure off of any and all of you about market selection. So don't stress about it. Just pick one. It's just where you're getting started. That's it. We're just gonna go test drive that market. It's highly likely you will pick another market. So it's not a big deal, okay? Just have some fun. Go try on a market and see if you like it. And
it's just like clothes shopping, Kahisha.
Totally. Go drive that car, go try on that outfit, whatever. So no pressure. 3 o'clock sharp next Thursday. Be there, be square. Get as far as you can. You guys are awesome. I cannot wait to hear how it goes this week and see where this journey takes all of you. So thanks everyone.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye.
Have a great week, guys.